welcome to the Keystone Experience. Rob Warwick
and Matt Pitzer.
Brought to you by Creek Archery. Find your passion and hunt it down.
And Hillview Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Remember, Hillview has it in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, it's fall food plot time, and that means we are talking to Roy and Bill from Back 40 Seed Company. What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
What's up, buddy?
So, we have had a horrible summer for food plots. I got guys calling me.
It's been wet and it's been really dry. It's a lot of other places. I know our way, it's been dry, bone dry.
I got guys calling me, hey, man, I planted this stuff back in May, and it was about 6 inches. Now it's just completely brown. Yeah. And I keep telling everybody, do not mow it. Stay out of it. Let it go. Don't mow any of your clover fields. Just let them go.
Yep.
And hopefully that'll keep them from burning out. I mean, ours, we cut it once early, and then we've left it go. We cut it last week, and we hit it with fertilizer, and the day after we hit it with fertilizer, we got a little bit of rain. And that thing is as green as it was back in the spring. So,
yeah, that rain does it.
Yeah, I mean, I got properties all over Central PA here I'm working on, and I know down towards the Bedford area, I had clover fields down there that have been established 3 to 4 years now, and they were just lush, beautiful, and now they look like I sprayed them. I mean, they are bone dry brown, and they're probably just, I'm going to have to redo them all. I mean, that's part of food plotting, but
yeah.
I have other places, though, that it's beautiful. I mean, I've mowed 3 times on some of them, and they're still lush green, knee deep, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Clover and chicory.
Now, I know we're getting into fall food plot season, but can you still plant clover this time of year?
Oh, this is a great time to do clover.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fall's a good time to plant because you don't have as much weed competition in grasses. You're getting everything established in the fall. It's a little bit cooler weather. You're getting the more rains, you know, coming into September and stuff, and it just gets established, and then it'll come back next spring beautiful usually.
Yeah, those young, inexperienced plants can't handle that heat like a lot of times, and so you plant like later, like this time of year, and like Roy said, there's a lot less weed competition, and it will establish. A lot of times we'll recommend planting a nurse crop with it, you know, so we can, you know, like oats and such, and we'll do that, and it'll. Springtime, you'll get good spring green up, and that's kind of what we're after anyway. I'll feed them all year round.
Yep.
Now, if somebody already has planted with the summer that we've had, is there anything you guys can offer for advice as to what they can try to do to help it out or keep things going?
You're talking like clover plots and stuff like that?
Yeah, just in general. If you, like Rob said, you put your food plots in and we've gotten very little rain, what can people do to try to help them now?
Mainly just a lot of times the clover, you'll see it brown up. I mean, you'll get a good bit of it. It's drought tolerant. It'll brown up, but there's still a little bit of life left in them roots. And when it gets colder, a lot of it will come back. So sometimes you might just want to wait. I mean, you could even go in and overseed it with like an existing clover plot or something. You could go in and overseed it with some like rye or oats. Even hit it with some clover seed on top. I mean, you're not going to get the best germination because you're not tearing the ground up. But I mean, if 60, 70% of it germinates, it just helps bring that clover plot back to life.
There are times that we have a product that we've had them where it was just we kind of threw our hands up and it just didn't come in. And even whenever it came back in, it was just too spotty. And so we do have a product we call Rescue, and the Rescue blend, because it was primarily for like failed food plots, but it's a extremely good soil builder, and you know it has 6 different components, and they're all for instant green up and good for the soil, good for like if you have a failed plot, that's kind of what we designed for it, originally anyway.
I mean, even this time of year though, I mean, if you have a totally burned out clover plot, like I was saying about Bedford, I'm redoing everything down there this year. I'm going to do it all in rye and probably some brassicas, and I'm going to mix clover and chicory in with it for the fall here. I mean, it's planting time right now, but I'm going to do all that just to get it all reestablished for next year.
Now we're going today, and we're putting in 4 new fall plots. They're only going to be maybe a third of an acre each one of them. They're going to be like kill plots is basically
Yep.
what they're going to be. I'm using the game fuel and Uncle Al's.
Yeah.
And then I was going to ask you guys while we're doing this about throw some chicory clover blend
Sure.
in with it, or should
I
I,
would
just
definitely
leave
do
those
that.
alone?
Sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. I'm going to do that. I got about 25 acres tore up right now that I'm getting ready to, on multiple properties. I'm getting ready to plant in brassicas, like the game fuel or the Uncle Al's fall blend. I'm going to plant that, and then I'm going to add either our chicory clover mix or our clover blend mix to that.
Okay.
Right, mixed right in with it, so that brassica will act like a nurse crop on there, protect that young clover and chicory, and then it should be next spring. Then I'll have green up, clover and chicory come back then.
Okay.
But that works well mixing that together like that. I mean, I do it a lot.
Now, is it too late to put any of the AP out? Or
No, it's perfect time for all these blends.
Okay.
Yeah, the hybrid AP is another good one. That's rape, clover, and chicory. You get your brassicas this fall, nice big brassicas with the clover and chicory mixed in, and then next year, everything will come back again in clover and chicory.
I mean, I don't know if you guys pay a whole lot of attention to the stuff that we post, but I keep posting that one food plot that we got the cell cam on.
Yeah.
And that backside of that last year was the hideaway.
Yeah.
So I did a strip of hideaway this year, but the rain, everything, it only come up about a foot, and it started browning out on me. So I just said, the hell with it, and I'm just going to leave the weed go, and then I'll hit it next spring, with the hideaway. But them deer, last night I had to shut the cell camera off because that must be the only green food besides the soybeans that are coming up.
Uh-huh.
Because it was like every freaking deer on the property was down there. And then they started bedding down there, and my camera was just going off. They twitch an ear, and it would go off. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I turned it on. There's 7 or 8 deer in that field.
Yeah, and that was an AP field.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah.
They're going to eat it all before we get the hunt over it.
That's why you plant it. That's okay.
But that field is that's the very first field that we established when we met you guys. That was the first stuff that I bought off you. And all I do after I see you guys in January every year, I come home and frost seed it, with some clover and some AP. And I mean, that plot is unbelievable. Like I said, it turned a little brown. Then we hit it with fertilizer, and I thought for sure I killed it. And then we got lucky and got that rain, and now it's green as can be.
Yeah.
That frost seeding thing,
that works.
Why don't you detail what that is? Because some people don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, frost seeding, if nobody knows what that is, I mean, you're just going out in February, March when the ground's all froze and heaved up like crunchy. I go out in the mornings, usually right at daylight when it's frosted like that, and I'll just spread clover or any of your perennial stuff, clover, alfalfa, and chicory like that. I spread that on the ground, and then as the soil, freeze and thaws over time, multiple times throughout the spring there, it works that seed into the ground, and then when everything gets warm enough to germinate, it germinates, and it's a good way to thicken up your plots, even get plots established without tearing up the ground. I mean, it works really well.
That's how you extend the life of those perennial plots like that, just like you're doing right there. You can extend the life of that, and you can get a whole lot more years out of it. One of our buddies has a field started out with AP, and that's we have some pictures of that on like our website and some of the pictures that we have, and it was that field down there is incredible. And the deer have been, and he's been frost seeding it, and the deer have been like on it. We have like pictures of a whole lot of bucks down in that field, and that field, what is that? How old is that?
That's 4 years probably. I think 4 or 5 years we're going on that field, and it's beautiful. I was just down the other day and mowed it and everything because it needed mowed. A lot of the weeds and grasses were coming in, and it looks beautiful right now since we got some rain on it and stuff. But them deer just hammer that chicory. As much minerals are in chicory. I mean, they're just hammering that.
The chicory behaves like a brassica as well. Like whenever after a frost or two, those complex carbohydrates have turned into like a simple sugar, so it gets a lot more sweet, a lot more palatable to the deer, and cranked full of minerals as well. Chicory's like that's I love that chicory. It's grows. I always say it grow up telephone pole. It'll grow anywhere. It grows fast, establishes quick, and the deer go nuts on it.
So, Bill, I'm glad that you had that explanation of what frost seeding is. And what I want to touch on now, in case somebody's never listened to us before with this, because we've had you guys on before, can you guys explain what are some of the differences and what makes your products different and better for our area than other ones?
Mainly, we're testing everything here in Central PA. I mean, we've been doing it for years. We started out mixing our own blends. I started researching a lot of different seeds that grow in the Northeast. A lot of the big name seed companies, they have awesome, great seeds. I mean, nothing wrong with any of it. They're out of the South. They're using a little bit different seed than what grows better here in the North. And I mean, this is what I do is food plots. I mean, I'm managing ground, planting stuff. These are all blends I come up with, and Bill helped me come up with, that we plant and test here and all over PA. And it does really well in our soils. I mean, we spend a lot of time on these blends, just getting them right for I'm mainly making them for me, for all my planting that I'm doing, because I'm doing about 60 acres on multiple ground. And this is all the blends I use. I mean, for everything I'm planting. I mean, some of these I mix together too, like we were talking earlier. I'll mix a couple of my blends together, just different stuff. I mean, and our seed's fresh too. We keep our seed fresh all the time. We get multiple. Instead of getting a whole big shipment, at the first of the year, we get 3 or 4 shipments in throughout the year to try to keep it as fresh can be. So there's nothing sitting around, for a year or two. You see a lot of seed like Tractor Supply, different places where they have 3 or 4 labels slapped on the back. That's 3 or 4 years old.
There's a lot of grass in those seeds, man. A lot of grass in those. And it comes up and it's green, but it's a lot of foxtail and a lot of things deer don't even eat. What we like even originally had been doing and still doing now, because we test each one of these components within like each blend, and and they're blended for a reason, and we could talk to you about that. But each one of these components we tested separately, so that there's different kinds of seed within each component. We tested them side by side, so and it's kind of easy. You can fly over some of these test plots with an airplane. You'd be able to see which ones work best right here, and then flip them over. And so we've done a lot of tinkering around with the percentages of each component in each blend, and these things, like Roy said, this stuff's all like, we had them side by side with a lot of these bigger companies, and again, there's nothing wrong with any of them, but they're not designed for the Northeast. Those companies are from Alabama and Texas, and all our stuff's all tested and done right here. So it's kind of all designed. And a lot of the Northeast and a lot of this whole north central part of the country here, we all have the same weather, from Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York, West Virginia.
Yeah, we have a little bit shorter growing time than down south and different places like that where they plant. I mean, everything we got blended, though, it does work really well here in the Northeast. So,
well, like I said, this is 4 years now we've been with you guys, and I have not put anything in and not have it grow. And sometimes it actually, I get kind of pissed off because the deer start hitting it as soon as it starts popping out of the ground. And I'm like, man, they're gonna destroy this, and then I'm gonna have to do it again. But
Rob, you just got to plant more, babe.
That's it.
Hey, man,
that's it. That's what we're doing today, man. We're gonna put in 4 new plots, and it's gonna be all fall plots. So, and then hopefully it'll turn over to where we just go straight into the clover with the spring.
I mean, I like doing that too. I mean, a lot of times I'll do them brassicas, get my clover and chicory mixed in with it, and then that way all summer next year I'm going to have clover and chicory there for them to eat. And a lot of people think, oh, well, you have that there, you don't want to kill that off. Well, who cares? Kill it off, get rid of that clover, and you plant another brassica back in there again. You know what I mean? Yep. At least you have something in there. That clover's building nitrogen throughout the summer. It's helping the soil, bring the pH up, everything. You know what I mean? It's good to do that.
And what you're doing right there, whether that was by design or by accident, you're doing the right thing, because you are doing the right thing right there. It's kind of, whenever you're starting a new plot like that, putting in those brassicas, they're a little more tolerant, a little more soil tolerant, and they're real good for the soil. Good biomass builders, good a lot of good organic matter that they'll put into the soil for you. And
it's nice they grow fast too, so you choke a lot of the weed competition out and stuff that you're going to have trying to come up. They'll grow a lot faster than, say, your clovers and stuff like that.
That's the other thing. Now we're going to start today. Should we have sprayed these fields? I usually just till them over and then plant right away.
It all depends on what you have access to and how you want to do it. I mean, I have plots that I go in and spray prior to, depending on what kind of weeds and stuff I have growing in it. And some, I mean, I don't even do nothing. I mow them off as short as I can, and then I just till them into the ground and plant. And I usually have pretty good luck that way.
That's
I mean, a lot of the ones I'm spraying, I'm trying. If I got a major, there's a couple weeds there I have issues with. Is like thistle, Pennsylvania smartweed, and Japanese stiltgrass. A lot of times if I have a real bad, it's a lot of smartweed or stuff like that in there, the thistle, I'll spray just to get rid of that, try to kill that root off before I do that. But some plots, like I said, I don't do nothing with them. I don't spray. I just till, culture pack seed, culture pack, put the fertilizer to it. And
yeah, you're probably a little bit, it's, and the brassicas they grow so quick and so plush that, you can get away with, they'll choke out a lot of the weeds that are growing. And a lot of the weeds that are coming in, a lot of them are, weeds have a season too. And, and a lot of them, that's what's nice about planting, and even planting, we have mentioned planting perennials a little bit later in the year. You miss some of the cycles of some of those weeds. So a lot of the weeds have already and a lot of them, I mean, we used to, before you're getting into this, we'd call them the yellow ones and the purple ones and and the light green ones. We didn't know what the hell they even were, but they'd go through their cycle. They were there, and then they were there and gone. So a lot of them go through a cycle, but you're going to miss a lot of those cycles planting those brassicas this time of year. And again, they grow so thick that weeds have a hard time to really they can't really compete with the growth of those brassicas.
So the game fuel that we're putting out today, that's a blend of, what did I say?
That's forage collards, kale, and forage turnips.
So that means we'll be over there with a skillet later on cooking some collard greens.
Yeah, you can eat all that. There ain't nothing wrong with eating any of that.
I think there's video of me out there eating that stuff, ain't there? Somewhere there's a video.
Hey, buddy, you better bring your best teeth with you, because they might be a little bit on the hard side, but that's all right.
But yeah, we're looking forward to getting this stuff in the ground today and getting it going, and you guys taking your time out on a Sunday morning to be here with us.
Yeah, this is the only time we had. We're busy.
Did you lime and fertilize your fields? I mean, we highly recommend that. Or you do a soil sample by chance?
Yeah, we fertilized everything last week.
How about the lime?
We did lime in the spring.
In the spring? Yeah, then you're good then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That lime's a real important component there. I mean, as far as getting your pH right, if you're going to fertilize, you want to make sure you get the pH right. And, that's, for folks out there that are new to food plotting, that's, we always do recommend getting a soil sample. That's a real important piece of the whole process right there, getting a soil sample. Try to get your soil right. And most of the time, nearly all the time, especially this part of the country here, that you need lime, and that's in order for the plants to be able to uptake all of the minerals that you put in with those fertilizers. The pH has to be right. And specifically, what is it? Phosphorus. You say if anything below a 6, the phosphorus is you're down to uptaking like 50% of the phosphorus of those three components: phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen. So want to try to get that right, and that way you're not wasting your money on fertilizer.
Yeah, limes, that is a big key. I mean, I put, between all the properties I did this year, I probably put down 30 ton of lime so far this year, and I got another 2 pallets of pelletized lime for another property I'm doing here. I just ordered, because I don't have access to getting ag lime or powdered lime in there. It's all small plots in the mountains on steep ground, so I had to go the expensive route, but I need to get that pH up for everything to grow good.
Well, that's the other thing.
There's different ways to put lime down. You can do the pelletized ag.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, on lime, there's pelletized. I like to use because it's easy. It's in bags. You can dump it right in a spreader on your tractor, 4-wheeler, whatever. Spread it. I mean, it costs a little bit more now. There's ag lime, which is a powdered lime, like most of the farmers use. here or where I'm at, I get it for spread on my fields. I have a guy that'll do it. He does it for $60 a ton. Puts that down. It works a little faster, lasts longer, but also another cheaper route. If you have limestone quarries around through the summer here, they have powdered lime and it sells cheap. The last I got it was I think $10 a ton. And I pick it up. I mean, I'll pick it up in the bed of a pickup truck, and I take it out there. And I don't have a spreader. I'll have somebody drive the truck, and we broom it off the back, shovel it off, just to get it out. That's another cheap way. And then there's a lot of the liquid limes that's getting pretty popular now too. And I tried some of that last year, and it did work. It's easy to apply because you just mix it in a tank sprayer and go and spray it. And it worked well. I tried it last fall. I checked my plots this year. It brought up the liquid. It brought up all my fields a point, which was a lot. It brought them from like a 5.3 to 6.3, and then I went and I had powdered quarry lime spread on the fields this year. So I'm hoping when I do soil samples next spring, I should be up close to 7 now.
Yeah, and Roy mentioned that, we do a lot of this stuff, and he's starting to do this now for a living, so he's getting a lot more equipment. But we started out, and everybody can start out. You don't need equipment. You need like minimal stuff. The combined age of our lime spreader was close to 100 years, because like I'm 60 and Roy's 40, so that's 100. So we had we're spreading it, and he'd be slinging it with a shovel, and I'd brooming it off the back of the tailgate. And boy, if you count like Roy's pap driving the truck, there was another 85 years on top of it, and we just get it out there. I mean, and it's, food plotting is kind of like, and we had a blast doing it. I mean, the first thing we'd always do before we spread the lime, I mean, one of the most important components is getting a case of beer. So we'd go out and get a case of beer, and then we in order to get the lime spread. That's just kind of the way it was for us. I mean, so it's fun. I mean, we still now he's doing it like a little bit more of a business, and so now he's on a lot more of a tighter time constraint there. But a lot of the stuff that we do on our own stuff, we do it's recreational, and so it can be a lot of fun. I mean, you get the family involved. I mean, get your buddies involved, and other hunters, and just like you guys going out or whatever. So you get to see stuff grow, and there's a little bit there's excitement seeing those first plants pop up like that, and then you start seeing deer on it. If you can put a camera out on it, I mean, and you start seeing deer on it. Food plots work. They do bring the deer onto your property, and then they keep them there.
Yep.
We've had out at his family's farm out there, we had a doe that had one horn on her head. We called her the horny doe, of course, but she was around how many years?
8 years.
8 years. So it's almost impossible to do a test to say, and we, I mean, whenever those guys that have those big giant farms and they name bucks and all that kind of happy shit, we don't do all that. We just see a cup, we don't do that. But I mean, that doe, you could see that she was around. I don't think Penn State could do a better test than that. You can't, you put a collar on one. Does that tweak their behavior? Who knows? I don't know. But she had a horn on her head. So we could see her every year, and she stuck around.
Yeah, and that was on 40 acres of ground in my grandfather's ground, and that's surrounded by a lot of private ground that people hunt on, and then I think 700 and some acres of state game lands that border it. So she stayed on that 40 acres the whole time until my younger cousin ended up shooting her by accident. He didn't know the horn was on it, but she was there for 8 years. So
yeah, so to the they stuck around. I mean, there was a lot of food out there for them, and hey, they're slaves to their stomach, a lot like me, so I go where the food is there too, so that's what they do. They stick around real well, and while you're keeping them around, we're making them healthier at the same time. So, we're a lot of the stuff we have is highly fortified. We're looking at between 20 and 45% protein in a lot of these different blends. It varies from blend to blend and, component to component, but, you're putting a lot of protein into the deer, making them a lot healthier. They stick around. And a lot of the, what we're doing, what a food plot can do, just like you guys are doing now, you're putting that stuff out now, and that provides a lot of carbohydrates. They're for winter fat stores. So they got to get a little bit fatter. They require different types of nutrition, different types of year, different times of the year. So, and, like Roy said, you're putting that clover and you're putting your chicory in with those brassicas. Spring green up, that's a whole different need, so, that's for the fawns and for, the quality of the milk in the deer doesn't change regardless of what you put in them. The quality doesn't change, but the quantity changes. So you can get a lot greater of a volume of milk. I mean, it's still the same quality. It's exactly the same. Nothing changes that, but the quantity will change, and that's whenever bucks are just starting to sprout horns. The does are all starting to do their thing, and fawns are out there eating. So food plots work like 12 months out of the year. It's kind of like that's what we try to target everybody to do. Like try to plant something that so you're feeding them 12 months out of the year.
I just want to throw this out there real quick. Like I'm saying about mixing the brassicas with the clover and chicory. What I'm doing there, like say I'm going to take my Game Fuel or Uncle Al's Fall Blend and plant it. I'm saying I'm doing a half-acre plot. I will get a half acre's worth of my brassica mix. I spread that on, and then that's on that half acre. And then I'll take a half acre's worth of clover or my chicory clover blend and spread into that. So I'm putting an acre's worth of seed down on a half acre. But that clover and chicory is so much slower growing that it's not going to kill it. It's just going to stay young and tender underneath that brassica and start developing a root system. And then once, it'll take off once they start eating them brassicas. It stays a long time in the winter, but then it comes back so good in the spring. But that's how I'm putting that seed down. So I'm doing that. You think you're putting too much down. But if you're just doing a half acre of the brassicas and then like a half acre of the clover or just the chicory clover, it works really well.
See, me and you had talked about that before. Like, I am heavy-handed when it comes to seed. I think the more you put down, the better off you are because you're going to get a better yield. Me personally.
It depends on your blends. Like I always say, the brassicas, I try not to overseed at all. Sometimes I'll overseed the clovers, my perennial stuff, because it's not going to hurt it as much. But if you're choking out like the brassicas and stuff, like I tell them, if you're planting turnips or kale or collards in your garden, you want them plants like 10 to 14 inches apart if you're planting them in a garden for you to eat. So when you're out in the field, you want them dispersed.
Yeah.
You don't want them all a half inch apart, you know what I mean? Putting that seed down too heavy because it'll come up nice and get green, but you won't get the full mass you can get out of it. The lush, knee deep greens, big giant turnips, big radishes, stuff like that.
So for that and that being said, that's kind of, and talking about like, how we come up with what we come up with there or whatever. I mean, that the Uncle Al's that you said you're going to be planting, there's 4 different brassicas in that blend right there, but only 2 of them get a tuber. Okay, so there's radishes and the turnips, but everything doesn't get a tuber. That gives those radishes and the turnips a lot more space to grow in the ground, and then they all get like giant. The greens go super crazy no matter what it is, but that's kind of the reason that we do that. And you see some of these blends, and we've seen them before, where they'll have way too many plants inside the ground that have all of them will have a tuber, which is fine, but they don't get you don't get the size and get the longevity of life. So, and these things get a massive taproot anyway. So, it's kind of like that. I mean, there's a design like behind all this stuff we put together.
I know me and Alex planted, I believe it was Uncle Al's the first year. And I said to Alex one day, we're walking through there, and I said, these freaking turnips are freaking big. He's like, yeah, they are. And next thing I know, I go over his house one day, and I said to him, hey, where the hell did you get that basket full of turnips? I thought he went to the farm store. No, he was over in our turnip field, picking them, bringing them home, and cutting them up and eating them. Like,
nothing wrong with that. I get them every so often and eat them.
You asshole, those are for the deer. You ain't supposed to be eating that stuff. But yeah, like I said, the Game Fuel we've used for the last couple of years, and I mean, the deer can't come. Yeah, that's one of come to late season. The deer love that stuff. January, February, December, they're just in it, and I mean, they're in it thick.
Yeah, that's whenever all that stuff gets a lot sweeter. You get a couple of those cold snaps like that, and that stuff turns all into a simple sugar. And they know. I mean, they get eaten, and sometimes it takes them a minute to find those. I mean, people will plant those, and they'll say, "Hey, you know what? I planted a brassica field, and nothing. I mean, it just did real well, but like in a look plush, ready for a photo op, and the deer didn't get in it." But there's times, I mean, they just drill it first time you plant it, and they kill it, and then there's times they have to find it. It's kind of funny how they work, but it does work that way.
Well, I like how you said, Bill, a couple minutes ago about the nutritional factor. I think sometimes it's lost with food plots. You think, all right, I'm going to put this in here. I just want them to come in so I can, shoot something during the season. And you don't think about it is really a nutritional value, and it's going to make your herd healthier and give you better bucks, better does, and just an overall general healthier herd.
Yeah, anything you can do to help them out a little. I mean, they eat over 200 different plants and stuff out in the woods. They eat everything. Sometimes they'd rather eat the browse and stuff in the woods than eat your food plots, just because there's more nutrition, there's more minerals, or something they need in it. They know what's in there, but then they have your food plots to fall back on. They come in, get some of that, a little bit of everything. Every little bit you can do helps.
It's written now, and I'm not the one that wrote it. Shit, I don't know, man. I just read it, but I mean, they say that like if a deer eats, if 15% of their diet comes out of your food plots, you're doing pretty good. So that's kind of, and that sounds about right. I mean, a lot of that, a lot of their food does come from the browse, but what the food plots will also do is they take the pressure off your browse. So, if you just so happen to get a 12-inch snow, there's a lot of that browse that's left over, like in the periphery of the plots there or whatever. And, so it kind of takes some of that pressure off a little bit, and some of that stuff's left over, like, for a hard winter. We haven't been getting too many hard winters.
Like our property, our deer lease, we also have a farmer that leases and plants corn and soybeans. And, we'll notice the difference. Like, all summer long, the minerals and the clover plots, the deer have been, feeding on those. Now the soybeans are starting to get up there pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they start to turn, you'll notice the shift. They'll go from the clover and everything over to the soybeans for a while, and then they'll start coming back to the clover again. And then by then, our fall plots are established. You'll see them switching to that. And the corn, I try to tell everybody, if you're running a feeding program and you're putting corn out for your deer, you're just wasting money. Corn is horrible.
It'll bring them in for pictures, but it ain't really good for them.
Yeah, there's no nutritional value, and all you're doing is making the raccoons fat by putting corn out.
Yeah.
I mean, I like a big, healthy raccoon because of fur prices, but other than that,
Yeah, pound for pound. I mean, like.
I'd rather spend $50-$60 on a container of seed that's going to plant an acre of ground than spend every 2 weeks or whatever buying a $20 or 20, however much corn is. I don't know how much it even costs because I don't buy it.
But I couldn't tell you.
How much corn costs? You're putting that out every week, every 2 weeks, where you buy some seed, you get it established, then you don't have to put all that out.
One of these containers of seed probably is less than a tractor full of diesel fuel. So it's a lot easier to put in. We've seen them, and you saying that, I mean, we've seen them and watched them go through, and I'm going back a little ways here, back to Pap's farm back there, but I mean, we had a brassica field, and we put stuff in, and I mean, whenever we were taking pictures, and we're a seed company, and it's like, we had a field that was crazy, deeper than chest deep, full of these brassicas and acres of it, and it kind of makes for a great picture. And they walk straight through it, and they're heading up to those white oaks up there.
Yeah, they didn't want nothing to do with the food plots.
Yeah, they wade right through it, and it's like, hey man, why aren't you even pausing? They aren't even stopping. They're bolting straight through it, and the white oaks are falling. So hey, it's white oak time. So they're up there, and you gotta. That's kind of the way it goes. You got to kind of expect that. That's the way it's supposed to be. Lots of food on the farm.
It's crazy when you start getting into this and really, paying attention to what you're doing. Like, Matt and them guys, they help, and they, Matt's been paying more attention to it, but I've been doing this for a long time. The whole food plot, the whole minerals, and you can see the change as the year goes along, what they're going to and where they're eating. Because there's days, like you said, when them acorns start falling, I don't give a damn what you got in the ground. They are going to them acorns. I mean, that they want them, and that's it.
Yep.
Hey, you know what you say minerals, like mineral sites, we've had them out before where you'll have 3, 4, even 5 on a piece of property, and they'll hit 2.
Yeah.
Some of them they don't even mess with. But I think it's another one. I think it's maybe somebody you guys are associated with that.
Oh yeah, we have like where we're at right now, where we can't put minerals out or anything. We're in the CWD area.
Yeah.
Now some of my other locations in PA that we're allowed to put them out, we just started using Forget Genetics. They're
That's who we.
you guys, right?
So you guys,
We just started using some of their minerals this year, and I'll tell you what, I put minerals out. I mean, for years. That's the best mineral I've ever put out.
So those guys
I mean, I have seen
Oh, yeah.
deer come in on that. It is crazy how much different. I don't know what their blend of minerals are, but it's amazing product.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you now. You look at the back of their minerals and you look at their ingredients compared to a store-bought bag from somebody else. You know, I'm not gonna say competitor names, but you start reading the ingredients, and the stuff that they have is top of the line, and it is just nothing but minerals, protein. It is the best for the deer. There's not a bunch of salt.
I've seen the deer come in. They don't just come in once every so often.
No.
Like, they'll come in 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Just to hit them.
I
it's
quit.
Crazy.
I quit putting cell cams on the mineral sites.
Yeah, because it's just nonstop pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, you just run out of pictures, you know.
Yep.
I got them on the food plots. Like last night, I'll get a night where the food plots, they're just absolutely crazy, and I'll shut it off because it just drives me nuts all night long, you know. But, I mean, Forget Genetics.
Everything hits that. You know, we'll see turkeys are on it.
Yeah.
The squirrels eat it, for God's sake. I mean, like, everything's on it.
I'll send you a
pretty
picture,
wild.
Roy, when we're done, of a gray fox. I just dumped minerals out that afternoon. I left 15 minutes as gray fox comes in.
Yep.
He's eating the minerals because he looks directly at the camera, looks like a coke addict. He got all this stuff all over his nose. For an hour and 25 minutes, he stayed there.
Yep.
He laid on the log and went to sleep. Another fox came in, ate a little bit, left. This thing laid there for an hour and 25 minutes and slept after he ate all the minerals. I sent the pictures to Barry. I said to Barry, I said, whatever you're putting in this stuff is unbelievable. I said, because I have never had a fox come in and eat minerals.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
pretty amazing stuff. I'll give it that.
Every freaking animal that comes past it got to stop and have it.
That's all part of the program. I mean, like, and you know, we'll call it, and we'll put that word program onto like at the end of the food plot thing, and we'll say, you know, people do have it's a food plot program where, you know, we recommend roughly 50-50, you know, annuals and perennials, maybe 60-40, you know, perennials to annuals, but somewhere in that range so that you can like target, you know, different nutritional needs at different times of year. So want to try to get roughly 50-50. People get a little bit, you know, we make somewhat of a joke about it. I mean, you know, because everybody wants to plant a turnip, and that, which is fine around like deer season, archery season. I get it, but you know, we want to try to like, you know, if you have acres to plant, we'll split them up, even if it's one, and people will want to plant 1 acre or even a half acre of just straight brassicas. We'll recommend half an acre of, you know, the game fuel and a half acre Uncle Al's, just because it's just different times of day or different, whatever the way the wind blows, that they'll want something different that day.
Yep.
Well, you know, we were talking about Forget Genetics, and you guys are in the same boat as them, and this is why we like using both of these products. You guys are able to control your products. You know, we've already said you guys don't have a bunch of junk seed in there. You have a better control of the quality that goes out there, and putting that effort into knowing what is you're selling to people.
Oh, definitely. Like we have another blend that's coming out. You can plant this time of year. We actually don't have any right now. There's a reason for that, but it's our Rad Triticale, which is cereal grain. Triticale is a hybrid between winter wheat and rye. Does really well here. I mean, in PA, it's really, really good for the deer. Really palatable, high nutrition, everything. And then it's got radishes in. It's radishes and triticale. It's mostly triticale, just small percentage of radishes, so you get that tuber. It's good for the soil. Deer like it. We don't have anything available yet. Should be next week. We will have it up and on our website, ready to roll. And there's going to be a limited supply of that. I think I got 30 acres of that coming, and it'll go quick. So
it's because of the freshness of the seed. That's
yeah.
like
2 weeks ago, that triticale was standing in the field. I mean, 2 weeks ago, it was in the field. It got harvested. It's in right now getting cleaned, and it'll be in bags. I should have it all next week. So, I mean, that's why we only have that this time of year. End of July, early August is when I get that. It all depends when the triticale comes off the fields. And the triticale is grown here in Pennsylvania, central PA.
It takes the best properties of the wheat and the best properties of the rye, and it's they both have their qualities, but it takes kind of the best qualities out of both, and they hybrid that up. However the hell they do that, I don't know.
It does phenomenal, though. It'll grow in a low pH soil to a good pH soil. I mean, it does phenomenal. And then next spring, that triticale will shoot up, and it'll get about chest to head high. And it just goes to, it'll go to seed. It'll reseed itself. I mean, it's just a nice thing. Even I plant that a lot where I wanted to establish new plots and stuff or create bedding stuff. Like I'll plant that triticale and radish here end of August, early September, and I just let it go the next year, and it will. It gives a place for the fawns to bed and everything come the fall and spring because it shoots up and gets so thick and deep. But we will have it available. Like I said, next week, I'm pretty sure I should have it, and it'll be up on our website then.
Cool.
I'm actually glad you said about bedding and stuff because we've been talking about the deer eating it and nutrition, but you guys have products like that and Hideaway. That Hideaway that we put up last year, the deer started using it as bedding. So you're not only
sometimes
you're not only giving them food and nutrients, but you're making your property better by giving them areas that they feel safe in and are able to go to.
Yeah, and we have our jungle blend too. It's like that, which is sorghum, sunflowers, and I forget all the components. Lab and cowpeas and rape, I think. But the cowpeas and the lab are climbers, so they climb up the sorghum and the sunflowers. That's why we call it jungle blend. It gets thick. I mean, as a jungle, if you plant an acre or two of that, you could really have something there for a bedding area. I mean, it's mainly it's a summer crop, but you plant in the spring, it'll brown up by fall. But it's great for just nutrition, bedding, safe place for the deer. You got the sunflowers and everything for the turkeys, doves. I mean, it's a pretty cool product too.
That Hideaway that we put that together, and that was it's primarily a screening blend, and there's two kinds of millet, two kinds of sorghum, and Egyptian wheat, and that it's thick from both your ankles to far above two men's in height, and
as long as you get rain.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. That's just like anything. Farming's tough business, but if you get the right weather, it gets crazy thick. What that does too, we'll put that in, and originally, that was for entry and exit, so you could walk in and out of towards your stand and all that kind of thing. But find out that the deer get a lot more comfortable in certain plots and in a different place. And Roy does it. He does a lot of planting. He'll put it in. You've had that in like a two sides.
Yeah, L shape. Sometimes I'll take a big 4-acre field and plant it like a big cross symbol in the middle of it or a plus. So I got 4 separate fields that they feel a lot better, comfortable in them. So something ain't wide open like 4 acres. You're knocking it down to 4 1-acre fields or something like that. And
yep.
It's fun to play with that blend. I've been planting whole fields of that just to build organic matter. It makes so much volume of mass and everything of plant. You let that up, and then I brush hog it in, and I'll it's bedding and stuff all summer, and then I'll disc it into the ground, just to help make topsoil, help the soil.
Yeah.
There's people that don't spray, and they'll crimp that down, and which I mean that puts a lot of biomass into the ground right there for the guys that do the crimping and don't spray. And you can drill if you have a drill and all that kind of jazz. I mean, that's another really good soil builder right there.
We got all that high technical stuff. We got a Johnny Appleseeder, and
yeah. I do everything by hand. It's all by hand, and I'm using old junk equipment.
Hey, I keep telling everybody, I got guys that'll call me whenever they see us somewhere and we're using this stuff, and we got your seed sitting on the counter. They'll start asking, and they'll they want to plant it, they buy it, and then they ask me, well, what kind of equipment do I need? So you got a rake?
Yeah, that's fact.
Go to the hardware store, buy a Johnny Appleseeder and a rake.
Our original sprayer, we were spraying, and we dismantled it because we put it on, we'd put it on the 4-wheeler, whether it was on the side by side. We had it on the trailer a couple of different times. And I'm not positive that it went together the same way twice. I mean, every time we throw that thing together, it was like, what do we do? Where'd this thing go? And all this kind of shit. And we'd have it like, it always looked a little bit different, but it got the spray on the ground. I mean, that was kind of what it did. And
yeah, you don't need nothing fancy to make food plots happen.
They're not big giant food plots either. You know, we have like, the original Uncle Al. He he put his yard is up against the woods, and he's not one much for cutting grass, and so he put his whole backyard is all clover, so it's essentially a food plot, and he's only got to cut it a couple times a year and spray it once or twice or whatever. So it's kind of like that. I mean, so food plots don't have to be big. There's backyard plots if you're so inclined, shit, you don't have to be a hunter either. And I mean, like if you like to watch the wildlife, it's kind of handy how that goes. I mean, he has every day he's got deer in his yard, but there's groundhogs there, rabbits there, ducks, geese eat it, and I mean, so it's pretty crazy how that works. You can put a lot of food down on the ground. Doesn't it? You don't have to have a lot of acreage to get a nice food plot just to be able to see some wildlife.
Yeah, I just delivered some last week to a police officer buddy of ours. There, a couple of weeks ago, we had them storms come through and they knocked a bunch of trees down on his property. So he went in and leveled all the trees off. And I said to him, I said, I got some clover blend and some chicory clover. I said, we'll mix it together and throw it in there and see what happens. So he sent me pictures yesterday. And I mean, this soil was horrible. I mean, like it had pieces of gravel in it. I mean, it was just fill. And it's green as can be right now.
Yeah, it's ground good, yeah.
Yeah, and he said to me, dude, I can't believe this. He's like, next year, he says, when you get this stuff, he said, make sure you put me in for 2 or 3 more acres of it. I'm like,
3.
You're on the list, buddy. You're on the list. And he's not hunting. That's in his yard.
Yeah.
Just so him and his wife can watch the deer.
Contact me all the time about planting their yards and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, if you have a big yard, why mow that and have grass in it when you the back edge of it? It's a quarter acre, half acre. It's half acre less you have to deal with.
Yep.
You might as well turn it into something for the wildlife if you like sitting on your porch or something, watching the deer. You don't have to hunt over it or nothing.
I think I'm going to start planting the hideaway around my house instead of putting a fence up.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I've seen Bill does that here at his house every so often, home in between the neighbor's house.
Yeah, I got to see that. We know a guy that originally put that in. People were spotting, driving down the road at nighttime, and they're spotting his fields, looking at all his deer, and shit, they run that spotlight across your house or whatever. I mean, so he put up a wall of it, and you can't spot those fields anymore, man, because you're just hitting that hideaway. It's kind of there's a lot of tool you can use that as a tool.
That hideaway, last year we did it with the L's along our food plots, so that you could get. If you're coming in the morning, you didn't have to worry about bumping the deer out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where you'd be sitting in the tree stand, and if you weren't actually watching that hideaway, you would swear to God that somebody was just dropping deer out of the air.
Yeah, they just come out of nowhere.
Just pop up, and it's like, where were they? How did they get there? And I mean, a couple of the guys going to their stands. I've been on stand all day, and they'd call me and say, "Hey, I just walked past you. I'm on my way to my stand." I'm like, what the hell do you mean you walked past me? I never seen you. Well, they were on the back side of that hideaway. So if I didn't see them 20 feet up in the air, the deer that were on the ground with them feeding never noticed them. So that is a great
comfort level there too. They can be in those plots, and I mean, you can be where if you would have rode by there or walked by there without that screen, they bolt, and they can be through. It can be a 4 or 5 foot wide strip of that, which is more than enough.
Yep.
And they can be right on the other side of it, and it's just that comfort thing, and they just stick around. I mean, they'll stay in that plot, and they don't see you. They might hear you, but they don't see you.
That's all we do is whatever width of the tiller is. However wide the tiller is, that's all we do is plant an L-shaped strip. And I believe, I think that one field we have is 5 acres. I don't mow a lot of it. I mow paths all through it, and then we got 4 separate food plots in there.
Yeah,
and each one of those food plots are lined with the hideaway.
Yeah.
And I do that because I want them bucks to have to come out of the woods and come to each individual food plot to check for does during the rut is the reason I do it that way. But that hideaway,
you're talking about, like, what that is, and it's titled just like, that's food plot design, and so, Roy does this for a living, but there's like, we tell people at all the shows and all the places where we go and contact people, there's a method to trying to design your food plots, and you can switch them around. I mean, it doesn't have to be the same all the time, and there's ways to design your food plots with the layout of your property, and wet spots, dry spots, hilltops, middles of fields, big giant fields, kill sites. I mean, inside corners. There's ways to design your food plots and be methodical, just like you're just talking about right there. You're already doing it, but but there's
you gotta stick with it though. Like, you can't just expect it your first year.
Yep.
I always tell people, give it 3 to 5 years. Do it right for 3 to 5 years. You're gonna notice a major difference, and you're gonna even change stuff up. You'll be like, oh, I'm not planting all this here because the deer just kept staying there. So I'm going to cut this whole back of this field off. I'm not planting it anymore. I'm going to keep make the plot, it's a 1/4 acre smaller, but the deer ain't, 60 yards, 80 yards away from you. They're in that 30, 40 range. And you know what I mean?
Yep.
So you just learn over time. I mean, there's a lot to it, but it's simple. I mean, you got to pay attention to everything and use your head.
Even you can cut out a lot of mistakes, if you're, by getting a hold of us. You're probably going to be talking to Roy, but you can cut out a lot of mistakes and, learn from like what we did wrong, and it's kind of handy. I mean, so we're a good resource and always out there. We're a phone call away if anybody has, and anybody has any questions or concerns or whatever. We're always kind of willing to help out as best we can. We put on little food plot seminars at like every show we go to. Sometimes they're 10, 15 minutes at a pop. You guys have been there at the shows, and you hear it. People come up and we're giving that same food plot seminar, like, 200-300 times a day, but like, always willing, you're talking to one of us anyway.
Yeah. And that's what I like about you guys is, we become friends over the last few years. We come hang out with you guys in Harrisburg, and any other show that we're at, we come hang out, and, it's like family now,
Yeah, man.
Yep.
And I can call Roy or I can call Bill any time of the day, and they will answer the phone. If they don't answer, they call me back. Roy knows if I'm calling him, I got a problem, I can't figure something out, he's going to help me through it.
Yeah, I get calls all the time from people. They call, send me pictures of different weeds and what do they got going on here? What's wrong with this? What can I do to do this? Or like, should I kill this plot off and start over? And I'm like, no, use this product, this type of herbicide. And then they get back to me 3 weeks later and say, oh my gosh, it's beautiful now. I'm glad I didn't terminate that. There's a lot of little things you can do out there. Like us, feel free to shoot us an email, text, call. My number's on the website. You'll probably get me, but if I don't happen to answer, might not get back to you that day, I will get back to you.
Yep.
I got so much stuff going on with, family, my daughter, food plots. I'm running properties, been with the weather. It's I'm on crunch time now. I got a 2-3 week window here to get 30 to 40 acres planted on multiple properties. Like I'm going 100 mile an hour. So,
well, our time is up, guys. You want to let everybody know where they can find you, and
how about we're going to throw out a
I'm going to throw a promo code out. We had one before. It's Keystone 10. That'll save you 10% on online orders. That'll save you on shipping and everything, because shipping's ridiculous nowadays. But also, you can find us at our website is back40seedco.com. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram we're on as, I think it's just at Back40Seedco. Facebook is, we just had a new page up because we got locked out of our other one and we cannot access it. But we're on there. It's Back40Seedco Food Plot Talk. And anything you need to know, all our stuff's on the website.
And they're on TikTok too. The seed guys.
That radish triticale too. It's gonna be a limited supply. So if you're interested, that radish triticale is coming in, and we'll have a limited volume of that.
You know what? Well, we'll wait till we're done. All right. We got to pay some bills if you fellas want to hang out for a minute here, and we'll run through this real quick.
That hour went quick, guys.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you having us on.
Creek Archery, find your passion, then hunt it down.
Hillview Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Remember, Hillview has it.
Duke Traps, Wildlife Management Supplies.
Apparition Scents, 100% lethal. Get yours today at apparitionsense.com.
Chico Outdoors.
Bow Creek Outdoors. Head over to bowcreekoutdoors.com, use promo code TKE20 for 20% off, and get you one of the best cell cams, general cams, and see what's on the property.
Yes, sir. Z&M Harley Davidson right here in Greensburg. Our Harley Davidson dealership that we buy our bikes from. We get our bike serviced there. Stop up, see them guys, tell them the Keystone Experience sent you.
Back 40 Seed Company, we've spent the last hour talking with them. Head over to their website, get yours ordered today, or follow them on their social media so you can see what shows they're at.
And don't forget the promo code, Keystone 10. We got Weeby knives.
They're wicked sharp.
They're not from Boston. Hey, Trapline Beard Oil Company. Stay bearded. Give Brian a holler. He come out with soap. He come out with a whole new line of products. So give Brian a holler. Tell him the Keystone Experience sent you over.
We have the Kelton Black representing American National. Head over to Kelton's Facebook page. Give them a follow for all your insurance needs. Commercial, auto, homeowners, farm, life insurance. Get your quote today and do business with someone who cares.
Forget Genetics, another Pennsylvania-based company that we deal with. Great minerals. Get this stuff out for your deer. It helps with the antler growth, helps the fawns. From crawl to wall, they got your six.
Gearhead Archery, rethinking tradition. Head over to the website, check out all the bows from a 24-inch carbon version all the way up to a full-size target bow. They've got a ton of different options. I highly recommend getting one of these in your hand.
Wilson's Wildlife Supply, baits and lures for trapping. Give these guys a holler. They just bought a new company. They will be open here probably the end of September to get all your trapping needs. So look them up. Give them a holler.
Rec Broadheads, American-made, mechanical, fixed blade. Get yours today. And what do they say about Rec Broadheads?
The final cut. We got big shot targets. And Outdoor Call radio app.
Yes, sir. Download it today on Android and iOS. 24/7, 365 days a year, outdoor-related content. So check it out and answer the call.
Well, buddy, what do you think?
I think they also, while they have their phone in their hand, downloading the Outdoor Call radio app, should follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and they can also find us on...
We are now on Carbon TV, so look us up on Carbon TV. Go over there and give us a rating on our show, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Take us out of here, buddy.
Shoot straight and keep the dirty side down.